I'm going to do a shout-out video soon because I hit the important milestone of 300 subscribers. But I'm not going to talk about that now because I don't want to get into a tangent. Anyway, there seems to be an issue with feminism. In fact, there's two different concepts of feminism. And also, before I start, I agree with everything Joss Whedon says in this video. Down there in the description. Watch it. Anyway, there seems to be two ideas of feminism. One idea of feminism is just that feminism is anti-sexism. It's just all about finding sexism and then attacking it. And that's it, really. But then there seems to be a second version of feminism, like a really radical form of feminism, which is not really at all about finding sexism and then destroying it. It's some sort of like female supremacist, gender nationalist, female separatist type extremism that's all about misandry and fighting against men. Like, here's how you can tell whether or not you have a feminist versus a radical, like, female supremacist. Ask them, can men be feminists? If they say that men can be feminists, then you have someone who's just against sexism. You have a rational feminist who just, sexism is bad, unite everyone to fight against feminism. If they say something like, men cannot be feminists because it's not their movement, then you probably have a supremacist or a nationalist or a misandrist on your hands, a radical feminist. So yeah, the problem is how these two can get confused and lumped together into the same group is that the term feminist itself is just a horrible term. Like, Joss Whedon talks about this. The problem with the term feminist is it's like if I were to tell you, I'm against racism. My anti-racism ideology is called black nationalism. Only black people can be in the black nationalist movement because it's our movement. No whites or Asians or anything else. And all we do is we just want to fight against racism. And when non-blacks complain, we'll just say that they're white-splaining or Asian-splaining whenever they argue against us. So, yeah, we're anti-racism, and our movement's called black nationalism, and only blacks can be in it. You see how, like, retarded that is? That's just ridiculously contradictory to have a movement that only allows members of a certain racial group to join, claims to be anti-racist, and then uses terms like white-splaining. So that's the problem with feminism and why it needs a new name. And yes, that does happen with feminism. Anytime you disagree with a radical feminist, they'll just say that you're mansplaining. Which to me, mansplaining is an extremely offensive term against men. It's misandrist. Unless you can convince me that it's not just misandrist, and that's not just dismissing people's arguments because they're a gender you don't like, then I'm just going to say it's misandrist and sexist, and hence the contradictory nature of radical feminism, and how it doesn't appear to be anti-sexism, but simply anti-male or pro-female supremacy. Hence why what would really help the feminists, I consider myself a feminist, so I'm in the first set of feminists. Feminism should just be anti-sexism, and that's it. There should be a new term for it, like gender humanist, or just anti-sexist. And we can refer to people who are sexist as sexist or genderist. And the entire idea of gender humanism would be to help advocate for and help with gender-specific issues. So gender humanists would help with all genders. If there's trans people issues, they would help with them. They would help cure breast cancer and help cure testicular cancer and all that. And on top of that, it comes with the realization that to fix sexism, you can't just focus on one gender. I mean, like, there's more than just two genders, so if you just focus on one out of the, like, 3 or 4, you're not getting anywhere, really. You're just going to have one pissed off gender, and you're going to have the other gender, like, totally clueless what's going on. So if you really want to end sexism, you have to focus on all genders. That's the only way you can work. Like, you can't end racism by only advocating and talking to and dealing in one race. You have to like talk to everyone or be involved everywhere. That's why the whole idea that men can't be feminist is insane. You're literally not going to end sexism if you don't try to talk to and include men and trans people. Speaking of trans people, another problem with the radical feminists, the gender supremacists, female supremacist types, is that they have a pretty disgusting history of hating trans women. If you don't know, a trans woman is someone who is born with like a male body, but identifies as female. So they dress as female and they use scientific technology to become a female. The radical feminists have a history of hating these people as being like, they said that they're raping women because they want to be women. They're appropriating women and stealing. It's just, I don't even want to repeat what the horrible things radical feminists have said against trans women. Also, there's other radical feminists who say that every time a man has sex with a woman, it's rape. But that's the thing, though. These people do not represent all of feminism. You have this like little group of radicals who are kind of screwing up the entire brand, when feminism should just be anti-sexism, but not all this other disgusting anti-trans people, female supremacy, screw men type feel. And that's the problem when you name something like feminism. When you name it feminism, you're going to get misandrists. But if you went with the term gender humanist, which implies that all genders, whether they be male, female, some form of trans, or non-gendered, they can all be involved in this gender humanist movement to work up for gendered issues, rather than seeming like you're only for one of the like 5 genders I just mentioned. Let's see, male, female, trans, non-gendered. Yeah, it's like 5 genders. There's 5. Don't just... your movement shouldn't just be named and only advocate for one of the 5. There's probably more that you can think of. There is more. Like India has like a 3rd gender, and Mexico has, so that's like 6. That's like 6 or 7 genders. So yeah, it's kind of screwed up that your name only seems to imply that you only care about one, and that you can't really deal with ending sexism or gender issues if you only advocate for one. So that's why I say that there's people who are just anti-sexism on the feminist side should rename themselves to gender humanists, and men's rights activists who are just against sexism and are men's rights activists because they are under the notion that all feminists are in the radical camp I just mentioned, they should stop calling themselves men's rights activists, and they should join gender humanism. Also, a lot of the arguments I just made against feminism, they apply to men's rights activism. You should not call your movement men's rights activism, because that too implies that you only advocate for one gender out of the like 7 I mentioned, and how you can't really end sexism if you appear to only advocate for one of the many, many genders that are out there. So yeah, feminism is a horrible word, and it needs a new branding effort, and I suggest replacing it with the term gender humanism.